There's two of us. Two's a start. Are they back there? Okay.
See if I can get the lid on this coffee. Could you please get the lid on my
I
coffee?
can try. Is it
Started collapsing the hole.
it's being, some of them are fussy. I think that's on.
Finally get the coffee to come out?
Yes, yes, you know what? Andy walked up, pushed a button, and it started going.
There he is.
City manager. What do you do? Get my candy.
All right, if we're ready, I'm going to go ahead and call the regular meeting of the Cathedral City City Council to order. Today is Wednesday, June 10th, 2026. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Lamb, followed by invocation by Councilmember Gordon, if you could remain standing for both.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
June is Pride Month. Next Friday is Juneteenth. On July 4th, the United States will celebrate its 250th birthday. We have much to celebrate in these commemorations and much to remember. Let us reflect on pride as a recognition of inclusion, of authenticity, of representation, with gratitude for the refusal to accept second-class citizen status etched on the first brick at Stonewall, with reverence for those who have sacrificed their livelihoods, families, and security to live authentically, with solidarity alongside our LGBTQ+ brothers and sisters in commitment to equal rights. Let us reflect on Juneteenth as a recognition of justice delayed but not denied, when 900 days after the Emancipation Proclamation declared all persons held as slaves within any state shall be thenceforward, and forever free. All enslaved people in America were finally free. A testament to the power and resilience of Black Americans, a reminder that the fight for freedom never stops. On the eve of America's 250th birthday, in these celebrations, let us remember this great country's inalienable promise of human and civil rights enshrined in the Declaration of Independence for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. May we link arms over our shared humanity. May we commit to caring for each other and our community. May we remember now and forever that the battle for civil rights did not end with the Emancipation Proclamation or marriage equality in Obergefell or the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Or may we remember the words of the Declaration of Independence. With a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred home. In our commitment to America until we are all treated equally in the eyes of the law, our country, and each other. Happy Pride, happy Juneteenth, happy birthday, America.
Happy Pride.
Thank you, Councilmember Lamb and Councilmember Gordon. Next item on our agenda is the roll call.
Councilmember Gordon,
Here?
Councilmember Ross,
Here?
Councilmember Lamb,
Here,
Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez,
Here?
Mayor Gregory.
Here. The next item is agenda finalization. Are there any proposed changes to this agenda?
There are none.
All right, thank you. Next item on our agenda is public comments on non-agenda item. This is the part of our agenda where we take comments on items that are not on this agenda. We limit these comments to 3 minutes. And just a reminder, we do follow our protocol of civility and we don't allow booing or cheering or applause, those types of things. We want everyone that comes to make a public comment to do so and feel they can do so without any harassment. Are there any public comments on non-agenda items? I do see a couple of speakers that have been entered in the queue, so I'll go ahead and call upon them first. The first of those is Janet Ream. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to come back again.
nobody would, I would have never dreamed that I would have become this involved with whatever's going on in any city, even the other, I spend about 6 months each, 2 different places. But this place, you know, when we got involved with the cannabis and the problems that we had, I've just stayed involved and I've gotten more involved. I went to the meeting yesterday. I was here for the meeting today. I will not be available next week for the other meetings because this will be the last time you see me until October. But we still have the same issues. We still have, you know, the problems that we have. And listening to everybody talk here today and talk about the different needs and desires and wants and must-haves, it still comes down to, you know, that what we're dealing with where we are is one thing, but throughout the city, there are so many cannabis facilities here. None of them that I am aware of have completely eliminated their problems. The one we have next door to where I reside, also that second building, the amount of water, when you're talking water and power and uses of our utilities, I am hoping beyond all hope that we can resolve this to never allowing that second building to be built, as massive as it is. Because we already have one, the biggest one indoor grow in the state as it is. We don't need another, but we also need to be able to live and enjoy our time here, which we have in the past, and not have that worry of that you're gonna get that stench, and not just where I live, throughout the whole city. This is something that somehow got started, did not get addressed, I don't believe, in the perfect time frame, but now is an opportunity to move forward and to make sure that this does not continue for anybody's use. Thank you very much. See you back in October.
All right.
Happy travels.
Thank you. Yes, safe travels to you. All right, next in the queue, Eric Castillo.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name's Eric Castillo, and I'm a proud Cathedral City resident. I'm here to strongly support the walkable downtown vision that was presented by CHOC at the May 27th study session. Walkable cities offer really incredible benefits to our community that are not limited to, but do include the following. The first is physical health. So walkable cities encourage passive exercise. And you may have heard of Newton's law of inertia before, which states that an object at rest is likely to stay at rest, and an object in motion is likely to stay in motion. The same is true of our bodies, especially as we age. Creating a city where it's easy to walk helps residents of all ages stay active and stay in motion. Second, I wanted to talk about fiscal responsibility. So compact and walkable neighborhoods generate significantly more tax revenue per acre, while costing a fraction of the price to maintain as a result of requiring far fewer miles of asphalt and water pipes, for example. And then third is social connection. Walkable designs naturally foster a stronger sense of community by making it easier for folks to step outside and interact with our neighbors. Some council members had also raised concerns about decoupling parking and its potential impact on accessibility. And I want to make sure to thank you for keeping our most vulnerable residents at the center of any conversation that we have. That's something that I think is deeply, deeply important and is a priority that I think we all share. However, I do want to urge the council to see decoupled parking as not a barrier, but as a tool, because when it's paired with smart policy, it can actually enhance things such as accessibility. We really don't have to choose between a walkable downtown and an accessible one. And here's why. First is that affordability is a form of accessibility, which is a point that I really appreciated Councilmember Gordon making during that last meeting. And building a single parking stall adds tens of thousands of dollars to construction. In a traditional coupled model, the cost is baked into rent and adds anywhere from about $200 to $300 a month to rent, according to a UCLA study. Decoupling parking removes this unnecessary burden from working families and seniors on fixed incomes who don't drive, freeing up their money for healthcare, groceries, or even a drink at the Roost, which they can now very easily walk to. I also want to stress that decoupling parking does not mean eliminating parking. It simply means managing it more equitably. So we can easily ensure that vulnerable residents aren't left stranded by adding equity-focused safeguards to the city code. For example, we can exempt ADA parking from unbundled pricing and add a high-visibility passenger loading zones and day-use ADA spaces as well. I'm really excited about a vision for a walkable downtown. I appreciate your commitment to accessibility and encourage you to think of a mindset of how and not we can't. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. All right, that's the last I see in the queue. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on an item that's not on the agenda?
I have none, Mayor. I do have one written comment for the record.
Oh, thank you. Please do.
So this comment was presented to the City Council. It was provided at the entrance. Art Gregory provided comments related to council candidates for the upcoming November 3rd election.
Thank you so much. All right, if there's nothing else, we'll close public comments and move on with our agenda. The next item is council reports, and we'll start with Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you. Another exciting couple of weeks here in the Valley, although award season appears to be over, much to everyone's dismay. On the 28th, I did a ride-along with Officer Novi, and who is the homeless liaison officer. It was an experience that I will never forget. I think we can see our unhoused population as sort of a monolith, and what he showed me was all different kinds of people in all different kinds of situations experiencing unhoused life. And while we were there, there was a woman that he had been looking for that was on the CVAG 200 list to get housed. He saw her, he called the social worker, I think, from CVAG. She came and offered the woman housing. And I think for a lot of us, we would say, well, obviously, right? And she said, will I be alone? I'm not alone here. She said, can I think about it? And it, I think, was a very eye-opening experience as we think about our unhoused neighbors and the people in our community. And I really appreciated the care and the intentionality and the humanity that Officer Novi shows to our unhoused population. And it's something that I think maybe we don't talk about enough, but I just wanted to share that. And if if there's the opportunity to do something like that and to go on a ride along with him, I highly encourage it. It is, it's inspiring. It is heartrending. It is, gives you faith in our community. And so I just want to express my appreciation for that. Then, on the 2nd, I went to the Pride flag raising, which was fun. The council was there. The mayor took the flag home all the way to the top, and it is waving until for the month of June, which of course is celebratory and exciting. I met with Ryan Hunt to talk about some of the concerns I had about the Ramon Road Bridge project and the communications around that. And then I met with Andy and Ann to talk about some additional issues. I reviewed and selected the commissioners that we'll be voting on later this evening. We had so much interest and such a deep bench. It was a pleasure and a privilege to be able to do that. And it was really wonderful to see so many people volunteering their time to be part of those commissions. And I would say if you weren't selected, keep trying. There are often openings and opportunities to serve our city, so please keep doing that with enthusiasm. Let's see. And the last thing I wanted to share was that this is another personal story. I came home from being away 2 weeks ago on a Sunday morning, and there was a police car outside my neighbor was standing outside and flagged me down and said, oh, our next door neighbor's young daughter got into an altercation with her boyfriend. He vandalized the lights up and down our street, and so can you talk to the police officer? And I said, sure, I'm on the city council. He said, you are? Oh, great. So I introduced myself to the officer, Community Service Officer Ramos, and she reminded me that we had met at Coffee with a Cop. She took statements from my neighbor, she got video, she walked around, took photographs of the damage that was done. She spent a great deal of time and a great deal of care making sure that my neighbors felt comfortable that the matter would be handled. And as I said to the chief, you never want to need the services of the police, but when you do, and you have somebody who shows up with care and commitment and attention to detail and makes you feel comfortable and safe and better, it's priceless. And I think that's another example of the community and the culture that our police officers provide to us in this city, and it's unique. It's not something that we see everywhere, and I'm proud that we see it here. So I just wanted to acknowledge that as well, and thank, again, Officer Novi and Officer Ramos for their service.
All right, thank you so much. Next up is Councilmember Ross.
Thank you so much. Two things. One, just to play off of what she had shared about unhoused folks and the difficulty in housing. And it is difficult. There's never enough housing, but I have found, and I'm sure you did too, I call it the 3 Ps. If they can't take their person, which is their boyfriend, their girlfriend, their neighbor, their whatever, somebody they've counted on, if they can't take their person, if they can't take their pet, and if they can't take their possessions. And their possessions could be a small garbage-looking, thing from a grocery store. It's hard to look at those things and think that's what's going to stop you from getting housing, from getting meals, from getting education, from getting new clothes that will help you apply for a job, which will help you grow. All of those things can come down to that, the people, the possessions, and their pets. And when we build facilities, we need to keep that in mind, because that is a real stopping point for a lot of people. So thank you for bringing that up. That's really important. So you all know, and I'm very proud to always tell you about it, that I sit on the Animal Commission. I am their board chair. And we were talking this week about pets having babies. We had the whole baby conversation. I felt like I was an adult and I already knew all of that, but it turns out I didn't. So if you have a boy and a girl, and puppies, I'm going to talk specifically about puppies, and they have a year's worth of pets, and their pets have a year's worth of pets, and this goes down through the cycle of every 6 or 8 weeks, maybe a couple of months, depending on what the breed is. At the end of that year, you have 67,000 animals. Now, do they all live? No. Do they all get hit by cars? No. There's somewhere in between there that these animals who have no homes, that have no hope, that have no progression forward, except hopefully to come to the animal campus where we can find homes for a lot of them. But it just rocked my world that all we needed was just spaying and neutering to take care of that problem. Our city does a good job. We pay for clinics. We actually do good things here, but not everybody does, and it's not cheap. A spay and neuter truck's $3,500, and they can do quite a few. Some doctors can do up to 100 neuters in a day, but mostly not. Mostly it's more in the 30 range. But we all, as a community, as a society, need to look at that and say, what can I do to help? Can I give a little money to the shelter? Can I volunteer some time? Can I take in blankets and sometimes even just newspapers to line the kennels with? There's something we can all do to make this problem better. So reach deep in your heart, find something little even. Anything will help. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Next up is Councilmember Lamb.
Thank you so much. I did attend the badge pinning ceremony at the Cathedral City Fire Department, and Fire Chief Contreras does an amazing job at recognizing these young folks and his ideas and plans for succession planning. So I really appreciated being part of that. A couple days later, I met with him, and we went over the strategic planning and got input from the council, which I really, council members individually really appreciate. And, you know, kind of the buzzword is collaboration. And we have been, over the course of 4 years, collaborating with the Coachella Valley Disaster Preparedness Network. And they've been working with us in our emergency preparedness events that we hold 2 or 3 or 4 times a year. And that they're going to be taking over the majority of those presentations. And they are a nonprofit. They started 9 years ago, and in 9 years, they have this robust team of volunteers, and they're ready to really help not just Cathedral City, but help all the cities. So I'm very appreciative of that. I did attend the Stories of Cathedral City, and it was put on by the Cathedral City Historical Commission. It was wonderful. The first segment of the Mary Pickford event was a 30-minute documentary about why the desert happened and how they were able to, how water is really the precious resource. So I certainly understand all the conversations around other products that they might want to bring to the desert because we're totally reliant on it. And the second was a panel discussion with 3 of our figures that were prominent in Cathedral City history. So it was a wonderful event. First one, and I hope they continue it. It's wonderful. I did vote. And I was able to attend the Cathedral City Senior Center Town Hall. It was not put on by the city. This was a senior center event, and their town hall was entitled Health is Primary. They had a panel, and they had a panel of collaborators and supporters. It included representatives from Stonewall Gardens, Triangle Care Management, the LGBT Center, Desert Health Care, Riverside University Health Systems, and Desert AIDS Project. And Thalia Hayden was from NBC was the facilitator of the discussion, and it was absolutely robust, and it was really an opportunity for people to realize the resources that are available to them. So it was a well attended discussion, almost standing room only, and they had a wonderful luncheon. And Jeff and Vic have moved Cathedral City Senior Center from a loving, wonderful, small group to a true community center. They've just done a yeoman's job. It's wonderful. I was able to attend the Coachella Valley Voices Part 2 at the Cathedral City Library, and this is a group of local writers that were able to read excerpts from their book and talk about what inspired them to start writing. And one of them in particular was Vicky Castillo, and Vicky Castillo was able to do storytelling and with our group that for Esperanza Rising at Esperanza Park. So it was wonderful to see her again. I do attend the Public Safety Commission as part of a Cathedral City responsibility for council members. And the big topic of conversation was the safety on Highway 74. And this discussion started 14 months ago, long before the tragic event this weekend where a person was killed on Highway 74. But this one had to do with large trucks that are navigating down a very windy road, and pictures of them where just because of the size of the vehicle, they take up more than their lane, creating all sorts of hazards. So they have worked with the transportation about assessing that and making some suggestions and hopefully to implement them. But one of the situations is that Waze, which is an app on your computer, the truckers coming from, let's say, San Diego, that is often referred to as, hey, a good way to go to avoid a traffic hazard or something on Highway 10. So they're directed there unknowing, that it's a hazardous road and it creates a lot of problems. So it was a really interesting discussion. And it's amazing how much information and how much work is done through the Public Safety Commission. It's wonderful. I did attend the Development Code meeting last night. It was held at this library, and I have to say, I'm so happy that it seems like something's happening at the library all the time, which is wonderful. But it was really well attended, and I got a chance to hear from the public what are their major concerns. So we heard about it tonight during the public comment sections, but it really, in my mind, it kind of fell out into 3 areas. One is climate. The climate is changing, and we have a climate crisis. So what can we do to ensure that there's walkability 20, 30 years down the road? This is pretty much our legacy right now. The second is, how can we make our homes more resistant to fires and the climate? And the third is transparency, making sure that the public has an awareness of what is going on and they have full input, which I think the city staff is doing an admirable job in doing that. And we have lots of time and lots of input. And I so appreciate all the residents that took their time to show up for that event. Resident concerns, speeding in the Cove, dogs getting loose, the upcoming election, what's happening with that, and the Development Code. I had all sorts of text messages from residents. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, and just to recognize, Diane Jessup died, passed away, and she is the mother of Andy Jessup Jr. From Jessup Auto Center. So I just wanted to recognize her and recognize the family and send our thoughts to them as they go through this process. I lost my mother in 2011. I miss her every day. I didn't realize she was that brilliant now that I'm an old lady. Wow. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm sure we're all sending our thoughts to the Jessup family also. All right, next up is Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Since we last met, I attended a meeting with one of the local cannabis owners, which his license was revoked. He wasn't one of the best operators, so his license was revoked. And I was able to talk to him and to talk to our city manager, and we worked out a way to actually have him apply for another license, but under different circumstances, to make sure that he's doing everything by what our ordinance states. So we're in the process, and I'm able to help him and assistant, and he's grateful that our city is working along with him, because otherwise he would have lost a lot of money, close to $1 million, if we were not able to help him. I also had a meeting with one of our constituents in which we shared ideas about how we can continue to improve Cathedral City and continue to move Cathedral City forward. And later on, I also had, a different day, I had coffee with a future candidate for District 5, who's sitting right here. We had a great discussion, and unfortunately, I cannot share what we talked about, but Cathedral City has great future candidates for coming up this November. And I also had a meeting with another business owner whose business, he was here earlier, Richard Altman. He showed me his property, gave me a tour, and we talked about how this city has grown and the ways that we can improve, not just overall, but also our downtown. And I'm gonna keep him in mind for later in the future, talk to him about ideas how we can actually visit and visualize Cathedral City and make Cathedral City thrive. And I was also a participant raising the Pride flag last week. And one of the most important things I did was I met a local low-income housing developer. I had such an interesting conversation with him, And we talked, even though it was about a half-hour conversation, I learned so much from him that we set up another meeting, and once we're going to be talking about how he can help Cathedral City develop low-income housing. It's not easy, but he's done it many times. He's local, and I'm very eager to talk to him in more detail as to how we can work together and help some of the residents and also grow our RENA numbers, which is low-income housing. And tomorrow, I will be attending a Coachella Valley Association of Governments Conservation Commission meeting. And I also met with our city manager and our assistant city manager to go over tonight's agenda. And also, I had the opportunity in going over applications and appointing certain members to certain commissions within our city. And thank you for actually to all the participants who are willing to volunteer. We have one here. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of heart, and our volunteers are completely invaluable. So thank you for participating and for being a volunteer. And that concludes my report, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Everyone's been very busy. Our last meeting was 2 weeks ago. That same week, I did travel to Temecula City Hall for one of my other assignments through the city, where I serve on the Riverside County Transportation Commission. I'm the chair this year, so they had what they called a launch event for the I-15 Smart Freeway project. I think I spoke about that a little bit before, where it's kind of an experimental project, the first in California, where the Transportation Commission built capacity at some of the interchanges, and it actually reads with some very detailed sensors the traffic for several miles going north and south on Interstate 15 through Temecula, and it adjusts the queuing of traffic coming off of the ramps, so it doesn't send traffic down when there is a clog, but as it starts to let up, then it lets more traffic on. So this has been done in Australia, and there's a similar project in Colorado, but this is the first in California to see if that technology works. So this is will continue. Besides detecting the cars, all of these sensors do collect data, so we'll be able to see how the flow. Before the project when they put the sensors in first, and they let it go for a few months so that they could see what the existing patterns were, and now it's gone into effect. So we shall see, and where it is, well, it's important to us if you're going to San Diego to get through that clogged area, or if you're getting off in Temecula, but where it will really be important to us, because if this technology works, it may be deployed next on Interstate 10 in the pass, to try to cut down on issues there before it gets really big. We're trying to avoid becoming like it is on the 91 if you're going through Corona and into Orange County. We're trying to do everything we can to avoid that. Capacity building is very expensive and limited by the state. You really can't build additional lanes. They have been so far allowing projects for express lanes, toll lanes, but not for general lanes. So if that holds in the future, we have to find alternatives. So managing that traffic would be there. Maybe eventually, if it really is that effective, actually end up here in the Coachella Valley as we start to clog up. So we're doing everything to prevent that. So that was very important. I was the chair, so I did most of the speaking at the ceremony. I was kind of the master of ceremonies, and there were a number of other elected officials from Congress and the state and others there. So that was quite a nice event. I was joined by Councilmember Jan Harnick from the city of Palm Desert. She's on the RCTC Executive Committee and represents RCTC at SCAG, so she went there with me. So it was nice not to have to travel alone. And she's a great representative. So, and then also attended the badge pinning and the ambulance pushback with most of the rest of the council. Great event. Thank you again, Chief, for all of that. It's great to see how you involve the families in the promotions and the ceremonies, and they become part of our family, and then their families become part of our family too, so that makes the city stronger. I really appreciate that. And then I did have some other meetings with the Transportation Commission on agenda setting, and then on the first, I attended 2 CVAG meeting or committee meetings. One of them was the Transportation Committee meeting in the morning. Number of projects. There was even an appeal on TUMF out of Indio where a compromise was reached. There's a vehicle miles travel project. The findings were revealed there. Very interesting in how instead of using trips like have been used for the mitigation fees for transportation, they may be looking at actually using vehicle miles traveled, which makes sense because if we charge a certain amount, we say a development is going to generate so many trips, then, and there's methods where they determine that, but there are other, if you actually look at it more scientifically now that we have a lot more data capacity, well, what's a trip? If I take my kid to school a mile away, under the old method, that's a trip. Or if I travel across the valley, that's a trip, So are those actually equal usage of the roadways? They really aren't, but under the current system, we count those as a trip. There are ways now, more sophisticated models can actually calculate the difference. So you may be hearing more about that. There's no radical change going on right now, but this is a study that's actually being consolidated with the study at the CVAG counterpart in Western Riverside County called WRCOG. And so that may be something that is rolling out in future years to try to make the mitigation fees more fair. And then there's a bunch of other things going on. There's a study going on multimodals on our corridors, the 62, the 10, and then down in the 86. So that'll be rolling out in the next couple of years, looking at different ways those can be used, not just for cars and trucks, but for other types of transportation. And then later that day, I attended the CVAG Executive Committee, which of course here's a lot of the things that your other committees have approved, and including the Transportation Committee, but all of the other committees too. And there was an update on the stipends. So as you know, if you attend a committee meeting, the stipend has been $100 to try to recognize your time and effort. But Executive Committee was $125. So there was a proposal to raise each of those by 25. I actually supported an alternate recommendation that would just make them all 125 because they're not supposed to really recognize how much time you put into it because, some months it's more, some months it's less, those types of things in different committees. So you will see a little change there. All committees, CVAG committees, will have a $125 stipend. And then there was a proposal that I had spoken about earlier. Some of the tribes have come forward, in particular the 29 Palms tribe. And since they have a very small membership, not very many adults even in the tribe, they only have a 2-person tribal council. It's been problematic for them to attend under the existing rules where only elected members of the governing body can be the primary or the alternate. So there was a proposal approved. It has to come around to all of the cities to be approved where the tribes their primary member will be a member of their council, but they can appoint their chief executive employee to be the alternate that can attend in their stead. It's very similar. The board of supervisors, technically all 5 of them are on CVAG, although you only see our local District 4 representative at most, but they can appoint an executive staff member of the county to come in their stead. So it'll be very similar to that. So that'll come for all of us to review and approve or not. But it went through a couple of meetings at the executive committee, and it, at least to me, it made a lot of sense. And to the majority, it was approved by the majority there. And then I attended the flag raising. Thank you, everyone that was able to come to that. I think that was important. And then just this last Tuesday, I did go make a little guest appearance on KESQ. It was something Communications Events had set up. So we could talk about, first of all, the summer pool at Cathedral City High School is open. And there are swim lessons primarily Monday through Thursday and fitness swim, but there's open swim really every day. There's a time every day except Sunday, so Monday through Saturday. And if you haven't been to the pool, it's beautiful. And even the people from Desert Recreation district rave about it as being one of their best facilities that they help operate. So if you're getting hot like it is today and you need to cool down, remember the Cathedral City High School pool is open. It's something that's funded here by Cathedral City in cooperation with the Desert Recreation District and the Palm Springs Unified School District. So we talked a little bit about that. And then there's a big event coming up this Friday called the Splash Bash. And that is at Dennis Keat Soccer Park in District 3. And that will be Friday from 10 to 1. And which is right kind of in the heat of the day, but it's a cool event. It's going to have giant water slides, water games, free popcorn and ice pops, and the fire department has promised to be there, so all of these muddy kids can crawl all over a fire engine. You know, they have, fire engines have water too, so who knows what'll happen if it gets too hot. So it'll be a great event. It's just a 3-hour event on a Friday, but school is out, so if you are listening and you wish to attend, that is a great event to take the kids out to do. I mean, the big kids can go too, but it's really the kids that will enjoy it. So that'll be this Friday from 10 to 1. And then earlier today, I did travel to the County Administrative Center in Riverside to run the Riverside County Transportation Commission meeting. It was a giant meeting with an agenda nearing 1,900 pages, and we did approve our budget for the next fiscal year. They do a budget every fiscal year. This next year's budget is about $1.3 billion with the B dollars, so it was quite a process. They have a great staff there that manages that. They have about 85 employees at the Transportation Commission, and I'm honored to serve as the chair there this year. And then of great interest is after exhaustive study and some polling, the commission did approve to put a renewal of the Measure A transportation sales tax on the ballot. It is to expire in 2039. And some people are saying, well, why in 2026 are we worried about an expiring sales tax in 2039? That's because a lot of the planning is at least 10 years out. I know we do 5-year plans but longer plans. Your Measure A sales tax that's generated here in the valley, it's 0.5 cents. It comes back to the Coachella Valley, the tax that's generated here. Half of it goes to CVAG. That's how they pay for their arterial projects, the majority of that, or use it as a match for other grants. 35% of it comes to the cities for our roadways, including Cathedral City. We get hundreds of thousands of dollars of that area. You see it in the Measure A budget. That 15% goes to Sunline. Sunline was here today, and we talked about how they could operate if they had more money. Could you imagine what they would have to cut if they lost the Measure A fund?
They could do with 1.5 billion.
Well, there was talk about increasing that sales tax, and that was run around, but that's a whole nother, that isn't looking like it would pass, so that wasn't the proposal. The proposal is just to keep the sales tax where it is, but to take the sunset date off, so all of these different governments that rely on it can have some certainty in their planning further out. When it was originally passed, it was for 50 years, and I don't know if they thought that all of our transportation ills would be solved by them, but that hasn't happened. In fact, the need is greater than ever. So that will now go to the Board of Supervisors. If they ministerially approve it, it'll go on the ballot. There'll be a new ballot letter and all that kind of stuff, and that would go on the November election. It does require 2/3, even though it's not raising the amount. It does require 2/3 to vote just to remove the sunset. It does also add, because this one's been around so long, it doesn't have a Citizens Oversight Committee requirement on the current one, and that's very much what most of those tax measures now have, so it would add that Oversight Committee to make sure that the money that is collected is used as designated in the measure. So that was quite an effort, and of course it will continue through the election to make sure that people are educated as to what the measure actually is and the need. All right, and I just wanted to point out that after this meeting, we will be going on our summer break. So we are going to get a little time off. I say that tongue-in-cheek because our Association of Government meetings continue. There's a lot of work we'll be doing, of course, in the city. Staff continues to work and prepare and get things ready. But as far as these formal meetings, our next one won't be till July 22nd. We are to have the next 2 meetings off. So that helped contribute to having a nice lengthy agenda tonight, but it will be nice for everybody. I wouldn't say so much as it'll all be break for everybody, but for people to catch up and plan ahead and get prepared for what will be happening a little later in the summer. But we do have things going on in the summer, so make sure you keep watching discovercathedralcity.com. And I want to mention that the summer movie program starts this Friday, and it'll run pretty much every Friday all the way through the end of July. So that's Fridays at 9:30 a.m. It's a first come, first serve. They're all kid-friendly movies. There's typically giveaways like books to read, those types of things at all of these events. I'm looking at here because Antonio Beishu, as he is with so many of our other events with the Parks and Community Events Commission, is a driving force behind the summer movies. He makes sure it goes every year and a little bigger and better every year. But it is limited space, so if you are planning on coming, make sure that you come to the doors open at 9:30, Antonio, or the...
Doors open at 9:30, movie starts at 10, and there's free popcorn and water.
All right. So the doors open at 9:30. Often there's a line, so you'll want to be in line. The movie starts at 10. There's free popcorn and water, and so you don't want to miss that. If you want to see what movie it's going to be, check it out, discovercathedralcity.com, and plan to attend. So with that, I will conclude my comments. Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda, we got to talk a lot. Now it's time for the clerk. Next item on our agenda is the consent calendar, items 3A through 3L. If I could ask the clerk if she would please read the titles of the items.
Yes, Mayor. Item 3A is to waive full reading of ordinances on the agenda. Item 3B is the Commissioner Committee member attendance record. Item 3C is the approval of the May 27, 2026 meeting minutes. Item 3D is a resolution calling the general municipal election and a resolution establishing regulations for candidates filing an optional candidate statement. Item 3E is the memorandum of understanding between the City of Cathedral City and the Desert Water Agency for a clean state revolving fund septic to sewer planning project. Item 3F is a resolution of intention to establish improvement area number 23-CFD number 2006-01. Item 3G is the resolution for the local roadway safety plan for submittal to California Department of Transportation. Item 3H is Amendment 7 to AB 2766, Memorandum of Understanding between CVAG and member jurisdictions to provide sustainable funding for the regional MP10 street sweeping program. Item 3I is the Amendment number 2 to the on-call agreement for concrete installation, repair, and maintenance services between the City of Cathedral City and Desert Ants Engineering, Inc. Item 3J is the approval of final map and subdivision agreement for Broadway Cove, track number 38091, under development by subdivider SHAA Nervara LLC. Item 3K is the approval of improvement agreement for design review 23-003 and specific plan 99-58A for the developer Date Palm and Rosemont Realty LLC. Item 3L is the purchase of 4 Chevrolet Tahoe police pursuit vehicles for $427,169.28, and that concludes the consent agenda.
All right, thank you. Counselor, any questions or comments on the consent items? Any public comments on our consent items? All right, to bring it back to council for a motion or further discussion.
I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Lamb and a second by Councilmember Gordon. Please vote. Councilmember Lamb, do you see the option? You can go ahead and give me your vote verbally.
Yes.
Okay, that's an aye, so motion carries, all ayes.
Yes, exactly. No. Thank you.
You can minimize it on the upper right corner.
Could be,
Yeah, you
but she
minimize
seems
it.
to be on the right one. So.
Yeah, see?
Oh,
See? You minimize it.
How did you get there?
It's just a technology break.
Now I
We'll
get
be
my
right
half
back.
again. So I have my regular.
All right, thank you. I think we're back on course. And we're into the meat of our meeting, our public hearing calendar. The first is for a public hearing, 2026-2027 rate increase request for solid waste and recycling collection for residential, commercial, and roll-off services. Mr. City Manager, would you like to introduce the item?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a public hearing for an annual rate increase request from our provider, Burtech, and council previously received a study session presentation on this on May 13th. Deanna Pressgrove is here this evening to give the presentation. Deanna.
Good evening, Mayor and Council Member. I'm Deanna Pressgrove, your Environmental Conservation Manager for the City of Cathedral City, and I'm here tonight to talk about the rate increase request for solid waste and recycling collection for residential, commercial, and roll-off services. In addition, Burtech representatives Frank and Clara are also here in the audience if you have any questions for them as well. A little background, Burtech requested an annual rate increase in accordance with our municipal franchise agreement based on the following elements: the Consumer Price Index, CPI, for water, sewer, and trash collection services, which from January 2025 to January 2024 was 4.73%. The County of Riverside's increase in the cost per disposal at the county landfills, which is increasing from $67.33 to $70.36 per ton, effective July 1st, 2026. And then also the annual net recycling adjustment is based on processing, transportation, and commodity marketing conditions. How this affects Cathedral City customers: commercials first, a 3-yard container serviced one time per week represents the most common service level for Cathedral City commercial accounts. This is similar to what we have back here behind City Hall. That's the same size. If approved, the commercial rate increase for a 3-yard container serviced one time per week would increase by $10.39 per month, and that would be effective July 1st, 2026. Burtech does bill our commercial customers directly. And this chart on the screen here gives you an example of what the current rate is and the proposed max rate for each of the container sizes. Our residential customers, the proposed residential tax roll rate for calendar year 2027 would increase, if approved, by $2.01 per month, or $24.12 annually. The 2027 monthly rate would be $34.43. And as you are aware, our residents our tax solid waste collection fees are collected on our property tax bill. So that is based off of a January through December billing cycle. What does the rate cover in Cathedral City? This is a summary of our programs. It's the curbside residential program, which is our weekly collection of 196-gallon trash, recycling, and organics cart. We do offer kitchen pails and liners for food waste disposal at no additional cost, and a recycling and organics container. Our residential customers can receive 1 per customer at no additional charge. We also offer bulky item, which is large collection program, anything that would not fit in your bin, mattresses, refrigerators, those sort of items, up to 4 large items per week for commercial, residential, and multifamily. We also have special waste programs, a weekly collection of sharps, medication, electronic waste, batteries, and tires at our Public Works facility, the household hazardous waste disposal program. Some of our community programs are a very popular monthly shredding program, the first Saturday of each month, October through May. Our environmental education program, which also includes the scrap gallery program, and our multifamily recycling support, including containers, audits, and signage. As you'll see right here on the screen, we do customize signage and brochures for each of our communities in English and Spanish so they understand how to do it properly. Our outreach and support, this fund, our environmental fund also covers our citywide mailers and our targeted outreaches when we want to focus on issues in neighborhoods that we're trying to deal with, holiday tree recycling, our illegal dumping collection program, our special services for disabled residents, and other programs include our backyard composting program, community cleanup programs, and then the Water Smart Landscapes rebate program. So in summary, our residential customers, the residential property tax roll rate for calendar year 2027 would be $34.44 per month. Our commercial customers would increase for a standard 3-yard container by $10.39 per month, which would be effective July 1st, 2026. If there is no direct impact on the AB 939 or general fund expenditures, since solid waste and recycling services are funded through the franchise agreement between Burtech and the City of Cathedral City, the proposed rate increase would result in increased revenue sharing in both the AB 939 fund and the general fund. This falls under our strategic plan goals of fiscal stability and sustainability, along with embracing an inclusive community. And we did hold a public hearing, so Prop 18 notifications were sent to all of our residents and commercial customers. We did receive 4 responses of not to approve the rate increase. And then we also have, if you saw in your packet, you had a very large file that included all of the charges per parcel that is submitted to the county. That was reviewed by our finance department, because if you recall, a few years ago, we did have a half a dozen or 20 discrepancies, and that was applied to our residential customers who had those additional containers. Burtech reimbursed them, but since then, we've sent that spreadsheet through our finance department to make sure that there's no discrepancies.
And it's submitted directly by us now, right?
What?
It's submitted to the county by us now.
Burtech submits it along with a letter, our Prop 218 letter verifying and our resolution that you would approve tonight.
But Burtech doesn't alter it after.
No, Burtech is no, and the county only goes off of what is approved tonight.
Right.
So that packet, so even if there was a mistake on that packet, we couldn't, we'd have to submit it or bring it back to you to adjust it.
Thank you.
So the recommendation would be to hold a public hearing in accordance with Prop 218, consider all protests received, determine whether a majority protest exists, and if no majority protest exists, approve the 2026-2027 tax year rate increase for the collection, recycling, and disposal of municipal solid waste for commercial, residential, and roll-off services, and approve a resolution approving tax roll billing for residential services. And that ends my presentation. Back to you, Mayor.
All right, thank you so much. And I know this was a study session item, as was pointed out before, so I know we've all had a chance to speak about it then or ask any questions, but are there any questions or comments from council tonight?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you for your presentation. Besides all the great things that Burtech provides, one thing that you might have forgot or you can refresh me on is the additional monthly street sweeping, residential sweeping.
Oh, you are right. That is, I did fail. Yes. In that rate, our residential streets are covered, our monthly residential streets are swept. Our arterials are swept through the CVAG program, but our residential streets are swept once a month through this program.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for pointing that out, Mayor Pro Tem. All right, nothing else from council right now. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Are there any public comments on this item? I don't see any speaker cards registered. Is any member of the public here that wishes to speak at this public hearing?
There are none, Mayor, but I do want to ask one other question. If you're a member who wants to submit an oral or written protest, now is the time. I see none.
All right, thank you.
And Mayor, can I ask the clerk, did we receive any written protests?
We did. So we received 4 written protests. I believe we discussed it in the, but the council did receive it.
Very good. 4 protests does not constitute a negative vote under Prop 218, so we can proceed.
All right, thank you. I do see someone approaching the dais. Did you wish to speak on this item, sir? Hello?
Sir, do you wish to make a comment, sir?
Yes, I'm not quite sure I understood what the attorney just mentioned.
Come forward to the microphone, sir. If you wouldn't mind giving us your name.
I just want to make sure that what I'm doing is consistent with what your expectations are. My look at curbside pickup and our collection is concerned is that comes with a certain amount of responsibility. One of those responsibilities is to make sure that your trucks are well maintained. And what I'm looking at is something that has a direct effect on me, and I'll tell you what that is shortly. But what it is that the way I've noted that trucks are operating, when they pick up a garbage container, there's a caliper that comes out and picks it up, squeezes it, and it goes up a track, and then drops it off over the top of the truck and empties it, brings it back down. One of the things that happens with that track, is that it moves, and it moves toward the truck. So when they pick up that truck or the garbage container at the side of the road, that's one thing. But when they bring it down, they're dropping it down away from the side of the road. And one of the things that happened to me is that I came around a bend to find out, and I was surprised to see this garbage container sitting out in the road. And it took off my mirror. And I think to myself, that should have never been there in the first place. I talked to the company that operates, and I talked to a guy by the name of Joe, wonderful guy. He came out, he took a look at the situation. He says, yeah, you know what, we may have to turn this into our insurance. Well, I called several times, and the lady at the phone, she says, you know what, he'll call you by the end of the day. Well, he never called. And this went on about 6 or 7 times where he never called. And I just think about this and I say, you guys are responsible for certain things. And if it means that you don't take care of your trucks, if you don't get things fixed on there, then I shouldn't have to suffer the consequences, which I am right now. If you look at my mirror, it's hanging off the side of the car, and what's really bad about it is it's dangerous. My blind spot is really blind now, and I'm not supposed to be driving this car this way, but it's what happened because of how that garbage container was left out in the road. Shouldn't have happened. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing that concern, and there are representatives from Burtech listening, so I'm sure that they'll follow up on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you much for your time.
All right, are there any other public comments? This is a public hearing. You're welcome to come forward if you have public comments. All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, return the matter back to the council for further questions, comments, or a vote.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez and a second by Councilmember Lamb. Please vote.
I'm going to need to verbally vote. Madam Clerk, I need to verbally vote.
Councilmember Ross, go ahead.
Thanks. Just verbally vote. Yes, aye.
Aye. Okay, and motion carries, all ayes.
All right, thank you so much. Moving on with our public hearing calendar, the next item, item 4B, is the annual renewal of the lighting and landscaping district budget for fiscal year 2026-2027. City Manager, would you like to introduce the item?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. So this is an annual process and is the public hearing for the 3 resolutions that were adopted at the May 13th council meeting. Kevin Biersack is here this afternoon to lead the presentation and public hearing. Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. The City Manager just gave the presentation. So on that note, if you have any questions, feel free. If not, save them to the end. As the City Manager mentioned, step 1 was just 4 weeks ago on the 13th of May. And that's when we brought forth to you were the 3 resolutions to initiate the annual proceedings for this budget, the intention to levy the resolution, and the preliminary engineer's report resolution, along with the preliminary engineer's report. So tonight, what you have before you is a public hearing with 2 more resolutions. The order and levy of the collection of the assessments resolution and approving the final engineer's report resolution, which also includes the final engineer's report. No changes were made to the final engineer's report other than dating it and eliminating draft and any of that kind of thing. But the content of what you saw 4 weeks ago is the same content that you have in your packet this evening. As a recap, here is what we presented 4 weeks ago with respect to the budget and the levy. The bottom line is for all of the parcels, the EDUs, equivalent dwelling units that will be levied, it's a total of just under $335,000. That will be a line item on the tax bills for any of the parcels in these 16 zones. This supports our strategic plan, our goal C, fiscal stability, and our overall objective. So tonight, we encourage you all to hold the public hearing and adopt these two resolutions, the ordering and the engineer's report. Any questions?
Thank you so much. And again, council, I know that we went over this item when the prior resolutions were approved, but do you have any questions or comments before I open the public hearing? No. All right. Then I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and receive any public comment on this item. Do we have any speaker cards?
I have none, Mayor.
Is there anyone here in the public that wishes to speak on this public hearing for the annual renewal of the Lighting and Landscaping District budget? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing, return the matter back to the council for further action, comment, or an actual vote. I do want to, of course, comment as we do when we see the great numbers here. Thank finance staff for their compilation, and thank the manager at Public Works for continuing to find ways to keep costs under control, which allows these assessments to remain constrained and even go down occasionally in some of the districts. So,
Thank you. It's a good collaboration that we have.
thank you. All right, council?
Move to approve?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez and a second by Councilmember Lamb. We're going to go ahead and do a roll call vote for this. Councilmember Gordon?
Yes.
Councilmember Ross?
Yes. I move to
Councilmember
approve.
Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez?
Yes.
Mayor Gregory?
Yes.
Motion carries all ayes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kevin, for the presentation.
Thank you.
All right, that is the last item on our public hearings calendar. We'll move to the legislative calendar, if everyone is still good. And the first item is item 5A, which is the fiscal year 2026-2027 Community Assistance Grant Recipients. Mr.
Mayor,
City Manager.
I'm going to recuse myself from this item because the Cathedral City Senior Center is on the list of recipients, and I'm consulting for them. I spoke with the city attorney. There's no conflict, but I would like to avoid any appearance of impropriety, so I'm
All
going
right,
to recuse
thank you so
myself.
much. We'll wait while you. All right, now, Mr. City Manager, would you like to introduce the item?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a council-driven process led by an ad hoc subcommittee. That ad hoc subcommittee has met and is making the recommendations this evening, and Kevin Biersack is still at the podium to lead the presentation on this item. Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Once again, good evening. Community Assistance Grant Program for the upcoming fiscal year, 26-27. Any questions as we go along, or save them to the end? So this is the fourth time that we've been at this rodeo with you all on adding back in, coming out of the COVID era, to have a general fund community assistance program that totals $70,000 to support grant and sponsorship requests from the community for nonprofit organizations and or other governmental jurisdictions. One item to be noteworthy is, if you remember, we combined the entitlement of our CDBG entitlement piece coupled with our previous grant program prior to COVID, and that's how we came to the $70,000 number. So as I said, this is the fourth year. Here are the GWIS statistics with respect to the previous 3 years of 23-24, 24-25, and 25-26. So this year, we received quite a few applications, 24 of them, and with respect to Life in the Universe, there's a recommendation for 18 of those 24 to have a recommendation for approval of grant funding. So, as mentioned, the city council appointed an ad hoc committee. It was comprised of the mayor and Councilmember Ross, and to review those applications and make a recommendation to you as the entire governing body. The program was advertised on Friday, March 11th. It was open for 5 weeks. Those grant applications were to be submitted by Friday, April the 17th. It was advertised on the city's website, social media accounts. We leveraged our communications and engagement folks, the Discover Cathedral City website. It was also the program application and the notice of publication were made available on the Discover Cathedral website as well. On Thursday, May 20th, we convened and met with the subcommittee, both Mallory Gary and London Powell Medina, hosted the mayor and Councilmember Ross, and we had a good collaboration from the two of you and recommendations as a result. So with those recommendations finalized, we have those proposals here and they're listed in the staff report. Keep in mind, all applications met this criteria. If they did not meet the criteria, then they were not evaluated or they were determined to be a 0. Applications must be from a nonprofit 501c3 or a tribal or governmental agency based in Cathedral City or demonstrate that they provide services to residents of our city. Applicants must be able to demonstrate they receive funding from other sources and not just rely on the city's support. And preferences given to applicants meeting health and human service needs of underserved populations. And on these next couple of pages, you see what the requests are. This mirrors what was in your staff report, the request and the proposed amount from the subcommittee. In total, we had about $183,000 worth of requests and $70,000 was awarded.
That's true.
Goal C, fiscal stability and sustainability. Our objective, economically prospered by facilitating investment. A typo on this slide, my apologies, but the recommendation as it stands is for this council subcommittee recommendation to the city council and for the city council to approve the award of grants totaling $70,000 for the upcoming fiscal year. Questions, answers?
All right, thank you so much for the presentation, and I want to make sure I thank your staff for this process being very well briefed to us, and Councilmember Ross, because I know when we met, she had gone through and made extensive notes, which made the process go much more smoothly, and we had a very robust discussion and came up with this recommendation. So are there any questions or comments from council? All right, are there any public comments on this item?
I have none, Mayor.
All right, we turn it back to council for further questions or a vote.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez and a second by Councilmember Lamb. Please vote. And motion carries all ayes with Councilmember Gordon recused.
All right, thank you very much. All right, that finishes this item. We'll get our council member back so we can move on with our calendar.
Can we have more money to give away? Can we have more, please? Kevin, can we have more money, please, to give away more? Come on, more, just a little more,
We'll check in mid-year next year.
just a little bit.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our legislative calendar, item 5B, is the 2026 firework enforcement and response activity. City Manager, would you like to introduce the item?
Thank you, Mayor. And while this item is on the legislative calendar, there is no action required. This is an informational item, and it's intended to provide council some information on our strategy for fireworks enforcement as we approach July 4th. And Sergeant Robles will present this item.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. I am Mark Robles, a sergeant with our police department, and I have a presentation on the upcoming 4th of July weekend, the firework response and enforcement. We all know fireworks pose a significant public health, safety, and welfare concerns due to the risk of fire, explosions, burns, bodily injury, property damage, and noise disturbance. Fireworks can also cause significant stress, anxiety, injury, and disorientation to pets. Additionally, their use places increased demands on police, fire, code compliance, and emergency response personnel and resources. Cathedral City Fire, Police, and Code compliance will continue to be proactive in educating the public and enforcing the law to help reduce the number of illegal firework violations within the city. This chart shows the last 3 years of calls for service in 2025, 2024, and 2023. This is specifically for the 4th of July calls for service and in relation firework calls. Last year, we did have a little bit of a decrease versus 2024, and we hope to progress with even fewer calls for service. Education materials have been posted on our social media, the police departments that began on Monday, a couple days ago, June 8th. That's to inform and remind the public all fireworks are illegal in Cathedral City and discourage their use. People found in possession of, discharging, or allowing firework violations will face criminal charges or Cathedral City Municipal Code violations. Any fireworks confiscated will be disposed of in coordination with Cathedral City Fire and EMS, and they will be stored at their facility. Cathedral City Municipal Code 11.21.020 that was adopted on May 27th, and that prohibits possession, discharge, selling, or offer to sell fireworks within the city. It also has a provision for responsible person liability, which allows enforcement against persons who cause, permit, abet, or allow fireworks violations, including property owners, tenants, occupants, persons in control of the property, and event organizers where appropriate. So if fireworks are used at a gathering, and not only can we cite the violator, the person setting off the fireworks, but we can also cite the property owner or the tenant. A violation of this CCMC carries a $1,000 fine. The police department's operation plan beginning July 3rd through 2 a.m. on July 5th. We will deploy additional staffing to address illegal possession and use of fireworks in the areas which consistently have higher firework activity. Historically, those areas are neighborhoods north of Ramon, between Day Palm and Landau, north to Panorama Park area, south of Ramon, between Day Palm and Shifting Sands, south to Dinah Shore and Dream Homes. I'd like to note that on the staff report, our deployment period showed ending at 12 at midnight versus 2 a.m. Those hours have been extended to address any residual calls because it will be a busy weekend. The 4th of July will fall on a Saturday, so we do expect it to be a little bit busy. Code compliance officers will assist our department by participating in a 2-person patrol unit. And this year, our drone first responder DRF units will be deployed and will respond to firework-related calls. Cathedral City Fire and EMS also launched their No Fireworks campaign on Monday, June 8th. They have social media push with daily posts, real stories, and on their Facebook and Instagram. We have the message posted on digital billboards, festival lawns, and the Auto Center. It emphasizes the dangers of safety and fines, and it's a coordinated message across all platforms. There's no additional cost for this for the billboards. Some other initiatives, there's ads placed in 20 Sunline bus shelters throughout Cathedral City. They're placed in high traffic pedestrian areas. The message is both in English and Spanish. Communications event, Ryan Hunt and his team created a mailer that went out this week to all residents of Cathedral City with the same message. The fire department also has mobile messaging with removable decals on all their apparatus, which includes their engines, trucks, and ambulances. And again, it reinforces the message while the vehicles are out about in the city, and it definitely amplifies the reach in our neighborhoods. That costs us $400 to the fire department. The fiscal impact. Cathedral City Police will be solely to the cost of associated extra staffing, no additional costs. The same for code compliance, the cost of associated with their extra staffing for those 2 days of deployment period. Fiscal impact to Cathedral City Fire and EMS is $13,400 to be paid from their existing budget. That's $400 for their mobile decals and $13,000 for the mailers. And now open it up for questions or discussion.
Thank you so much, Sergeant, for that presentation. Council, questions or comments? Mayor Pro Tem?
I do have a question. Well, thank you for your presentation. We've come a long ways from the COVID area in which we got, I believe it was in the upper 1,000 calls for July 4th, and people were just going crazy with fireworks. And of course, council made that illegal. And now the calls, we can say they are dropping. And one of the things that I've been calling for years, now we're going to start using, which is drones. Thank you. Now, are the drones going to be deployed up on calls, or are they going to be up in the air just watching to see what's going on?
Thank you for the question. The drones are going to operate like they do any other day, and that is they'll be stationary and ready to respond to any calls for service that require a drone to be flown out. If there's a good chance that we can identify any violators, then they will respond to those calls.
And are we going to have one pilot or a couple pilots on call, or?
We're going to have one pilot that's here for the deployment period, but he will have the opportunity to fly any one of the 3 drones depending on where the call for service is coming.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Councilmember Gordon.
I just have one question, and it's more out of curiosity than anything else. It seems to me, at least around my house, after the 4th, the 7th, the 9th, we still have fireworks violations going on. And so I'm curious, I know that's not part of sort of the emergency, immediate response that we're talking about here, but I'm curious, have you, and you can get back to me on this data if you don't have it, but do you see an increase or decrease in those sort of stretch dates beyond, and I don't know if you can anticipate what it might look like this year, because I know that that's something that certainly my neighbors and I talk about. It's like, oh my God, you hear the fireworks again? It's Wednesday. Why?
Yeah, so historically, there's definitely lingering calls for service that are related to fireworks. Some obviously prior to the 4th, the 3rd, and then a few after the 4th. Those are minimal, and our patrol officers are equipped to handle those calls. We don't necessarily need a team to specifically for that. They're very minimal calls for service.
Great, thank you. And I think our pets and our veterans in particular, thank you.
Yes, very good. Councilmember Ross, you good?
Thank you. Thanks.
Go ahead.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So it's always irritated me that Costco sells fireworks. It just does. I mean, they're our neighbors, and there they are, they're selling, and we're saying, we can't have any in our city, and they're selling, big, huge boxes of flares that'll go off all night. Can we at least have a sign that says fireworks are illegal in Cathedral City at Costco? Can they at least put a sign up for us? Can we at least ask them if they'd put a sign up for us? It would be saving their people fines and perhaps being arrested by not bringing all of those into our city.
The answer is no. I don't know that Costco would allow us to do something like that, but yeah, no, we did not.
Doesn't it frankly kind of, that's me swearing.
Councilmember Ross, if I may, we also do proactive enforcement. We'll have our investigators, our detective bureau, scouring the internet for illegal sales that take place in Cathedral City, and we've been successful in years past on not only making arrests, but putting those arrests on social media so other residents don't get the same idea.
Well, what's for a violator, what would be the advantage to buying offline? I mean, you could just go to the store and buy it. You can pick your 6-pack of beer up while you're there.
The ones I'm talking about, the ones you purchase in Nevada or in Arizona,
Okay, the out-of-state ones,
yes,
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 okay. All right.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Mostly just wanted to vent. Thanks for listening.
We'll have to look into Costco.
All right, anything else from council?
I just wanted to say, I've been on council since 2019. The evolution of this whole process has been wonderful because our community is really calmer They understand that it's a no fireworks city, and everybody works together. So thank you for all the collaboration and the work. It's tremendous.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any public comments on this item? I don't see any speaker cards entered in the queue.
I have none.
All right, anyone here, a member of the public who wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll return it back. This is just a informational item only, so no motion or vote is necessary. There's nothing else. We'll go ahead and move on to the next item on our calendar, which is item 5C, the National Opioid Settlement Funds. Mr. City Manager, if you'd like to introduce the item when you're ready.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So council is asked to approve a new special revenue fund with this item, and this is for the use of the National Opioid Settlement Funds. So along with that, Commander Hanley is going to be presenting a strategy for the use of those funds, and I'll turn it over to Commander Hanley.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. I'm Commander Hanley with the Cathedral City Police Department. Tonight, I want to speak with you about the National Opioid Settlement Fund. So just a little background on this National Opioid Settlement Fund. In 2022, a national settlement was reached with major pharmaceutical distributors, manufacturers, and pharmacy chains over the opioid epidemic which we currently face. Funds from the settlement are distributed to state, local, and tribal governments to address the issues of opioid addiction. The settlement requires funds to be utilized in treatment, intervention, prevention, and education related to opioid use disorder. The settlement spans a 17-year fund distribution timeframe. Allocations of the funds allow Cathedral City to implement sustainable long-term strategies for intervention, treatment, and prevention. At the onset of the distribution of the funds, Cathedral City took a cautionary approach to this settlement fund, and we did not utilize it for the beginning of the phases for a few reasons. The first being the total amount of the settlement was unclear at the onset. The second one, there are specific requirements that emphasize intervention as primary objectives. With the startup of the Clinical Behavioral Assessment Team, also known as the CBAT team, Cathedral City PD is now well-positioned to meet these requirements from the settlement. CBAT can intervene through responding to calls for service and identifying those needs of those who are suffering from opioid addiction. CBAT can also refer people who are suffering from opioid addiction to appropriate treatment through our partnership with RUHS, Riverside University Health System. And here are some statistics just to bring forward on this issue. Riverside County opioid-related overdoses and deaths have increased dramatically over the past decade. From 2015 to 2020, Riverside County had a 106% increase in drug-induced fatalities. In 2021, 61% of the county's 805 overdose deaths were opioid-related. There were also 1,240 opioid overdose patients treated at hospitals. The Riverside County overdose data from 2018 to 2022 shows that Cathedral City had 40 overdoses for every 100,000 people, and 20.8 were fatal overdoses for every 100,000 people. Riverside County EMS in 2023 showed data that showed Cathedral City averaged 100 suspected overdoses in that year alone. And in 2022, Riverside County recorded 564 opioid-related overdose deaths, 1,300 ER visits. It was important to note that fentanyl was definitely identified as a primary factor. So just to bring up for our discussion, using the resources appropriately, we can intervene, reduce repeated calls for service, lower incarceration, and provide medical treatment resources. This fund will allow Cathedral City Police to transition from a reactive approach to a proactive model with treatment-oriented response as our goal. Cathedral City Police propose using the funds to support a full-time CBAT police officer position to respond to opioid-related crises. We'll also use the crisis intervention training for all of Cathedral City Police Department sworn officers to allow them to identify people in crisis better and to respond to those crises better. It will also support opioid intervention, post-overdose response, and link people to treatment. We also want to develop a partnership with our local behavior treatment facilities and providers to expand access to recovery services. So the CBAT model pairs law enforcement with behavioral health resources to allow the officer to address substance abuse disorder, to improve our outcomes, reduce recidivism, and lower the strain on the emergency medical system. The CBAT officer will accomplish our goals by providing field-based assessments, identifying individuals who qualify for being gravely disabled associated with substance abuse disorder. That is currently a new bill that was introduced, Senate Bill 43, the Latterman-Pettis short bill for gravely disabled persons. We can also coordinate and connect with health providers and treatment resources via referrals. We can divert individuals away from arrest and repeated emergencies with the goal of providing long-term recovery solutions. CBAT will also conduct post-overdose outreach within 24 to 72 hours of an overdose to our local residents that may have suffered from an overdose. That will help us also reduce repeated calls for service related to overdoses. And further, we'll also partner with Palm Springs Unified School District to provide educational opportunities at schools within our city to help dissuade the youth from becoming addicted to opioids. So a little bit on California Senate Bill number 43 that came into effect in 2026. It allows this bill and the program, it allows individuals who are suffering from severe substance use disorder to be considered gravely disabled, which further allows the law enforcement and the therapist to coordinate intervention efforts for that individual, and has become a mandatory evaluation for us this year. So our proposal complies with the settlement agreement by the following: connecting people with treatment and recovery support, harm reduction strategies, prevention, education, and linking care during post-overdose responses. The proposed expenditures for a dedicated staff member, materials, supplies, training, equipment, and a vehicle for response to opioid remediation activities also comply with the requirements. How are we going to implement this program? So starting in July 1st of 2026, if approved by the council, CCPD will fund the CBAT position for that officer through the opioid settlement fund. We'll provide a class to our sworn officers for crisis intervention training. That'll be for all sworn officers at the police department. In years 2 and 3, Cathedral City will continue to utilize the funds to sustain the CBAT officer position and pursue those local partnerships with rehabilitation providers, which will allow for the treatment and placement for other people suffering from opioid addiction. So to measure and evaluate our program effectiveness, we'll do the following. We'll monitor and report on the number of individuals contacted and assessed, the number of treatment referrals made, number of post-overdose follow-ups conducted, reduction in repeat overdose-related calls for service, and reduction in opioid-related arrests where diversion is appropriate. Also, our collaboration outcomes with Riverside University Health System and other providers. Monthly reports will be compiled and submitted to the Chief of Police and included in the City Manager's weekly update. Annual reporting will be provided to the City Council to ensure transparency, accountability, and program evaluation. So the fiscal impact for the program will be established as a special revenue for the National Opioid Settlement Fund. This fund will be separate and distinct and not be commingled with the general fund. Utilizing these funds will be for intervention and treatment-focused strategies, and is expected to reduce long-term cost associated with calls for service. In the first 3 years of receiving these funds, as of June 30th, 2025, the City of Cathedral City has received $547,147.80. It is incumbent upon the city to start using these funds within the 5th year, which is the fiscal year 26-27. Otherwise, the funds are subject to forfeiture. Our projected budget for fiscal year 1, or for the first year of the program, would be $175,000 for the salary and benefits, supplies for $5,000, fleet maintenance would be $15,000, training would be $10,000, and a vehicle for a single cost would be $80,000, all coming to a total of $285,000. The recommendation before the council tonight is that they approve the special revenue fund for the dedicated use of the National Opioid Settlement Fund to create a comprehensive opioid response program and strategy. Also, it's important to note that this meets our 5-year strategic goal. The program supports goal D for innovation and E for safety. And I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you so much, Commander, for the presentation. First in the queue is Councilmember Lamb.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I think this is I'm a former educator, so educating the team is of primary importance. And I just look forward to seeing the report that talks about, it says here, the secure treatment placement opportunities. Because I know like the ranch in Desert Hot Springs and ABC and Betty Ford, they're alcohol related. So I don't know that they do other things. So I'm not, anyway, I'll be interested to hear what kinds of collaboration you have going forward. So it was just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up is Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you. This speaks to the culture of care that I talked about earlier. And so I'm really happy to see this. For clarity, the CBAT officer is the one who's partnered with the social worker, is that
Yes.
right? Okay, fantastic. I think, the continuing this program and using these funds in this way, particularly with the department-wide training that will be done, and continuing with the dedicated officer alongside the social worker is sort of the perfect use for this. We have established that earlier this year, and being able to make sure that it's funded and continues. So I appreciate and I applaud the strategic view for this. And I also really appreciate that this is rooted in care and not consequence.
Right.
And so I, like Councilmember Lamb, look forward to hearing about what happens, and then those weekly or monthly reports, an annual report on the impact that we have. And
Yes.
I expect that it'll be good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mayor. Have one question, well, several questions, but the first one is, do you have the amount of how much we received in 2024 just for that particular year and 2025?
You know what, I don't have that specific amount. I'd have to get with our financial officer in the back of the room later on and
Yeah,
get you that.
maybe he can come up if he knows the answer.
Well, that was a detailed question, sir. 92,000 in year 1. In year 2, we ended at 208, and in year 3, we ended at 547. So you can kind of see it's not necessarily consistent. So far this year, because ironically, the Assistant City Manager had a question earlier this week, we're above 700K. But we tie back to these with year-end numbers and then with our reconciliations. So that's why for Commander Hanley, we provided the $547,000 number for the first 3 years.
My question, or what I wanted to find out is, are we going to be getting enough money yearly, on a yearly basis, to pay the officer and benefits?
So based on the 17 years, and based on the fact that we're just now implementing this in year 5, In theory, we should have enough funding for the next 17 years. So the vehicle that was identified, when you take away the vehicle at the 80K or hopefully even less, because those are some of the numbers, that's a high-end number, I understand from the police department, that when you get done with it, the 175K, call it maybe another 50K at most with respect to the various costs of training or materials and supplies or whatever. We should be fine with respect to, if not the next 17 years, the next 12 to 15 years. And so based on that, it just depends on the pattern as well, but we have a good head start because if we're at 700K at the end of 4 years, we're basically looking at, we're 3+ years funded to include the vehicle. And so I think we're in pretty good shape. But
Very
we'll
nice.
have enough of a runway to know if something's going to happen where we're going to need to hold the brakes 2 years out or 3 years out.
Great to know. Great to know. Now, with will this officer, you talked about SB 43, will this officer also be trained to assist families when these homeless individuals, of course, most of the time they're impaired or on drugs, and they refuse services? Now, is this officer going to be trained to assist parents or family members to how to access assistance into getting family members to get conservancy over these individuals?
Yeah, that's actually one of the main goals of the CBAT program as well, is to provide those resources to friends and family member who care for these individuals. SB 43 is kind of opening a doorway for us to get that conservatorship over that person and kind of mandate them into treatment. Oftentimes, we have people on the street that we encounter that do not want the treatment. By no means are we going to force people into this and throw them in handcuffs, take them off to jail. This is more of a resource provided and an opportunity for them to become clean from being on opioids.
And a lot of times, families know that their family member needs the help, needs the assistance, and they are now willing to make that decision. Is the officer going to be able to talk to the family members and help them get conservancy over this individual?
Yeah, that's one of the resources provided by our CBAT team, yes.
Well, thank you. I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may, this officer is going to be paired with the clinician. So they're going to work in tandem. So they'll respond to every call together. So the clinician is trained in all that, as well as they have the ability to provide all the resources. Some of the things we're just not trained for or familiar with. But this officer will receive a lot of that training as well. But them working in tandem, one can deal with the client while the other one deals with the family. So I think it's going to, help on both ends of the spectrum, because so many times, like as you're aware, families call and they just don't know what to do. So I think having that clinician there, being able to calm the client down, and then having the officer being able to explain what the family, what resources they have and what avenues that they can take.
To the family.
Correct, sir.
That is a huge advantage because the law will help families. Families do want to actually help their family member, but they don't know how.
Yes, sometimes they're just not aware of what resources are out there or what they can do to help that individual get that assistance they need.
Now, we currently already have an officer working along with the CBAD technician. So are we going to hire an additional officer and pay this one from these funds and hire an additional officer?
We will have the ability to backfill behind this, since this officer will be funded through this position.
Well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem, and you did answer any questions I have. I wasn't sure if this was a 3-year, it looks like it's 3-year projected out right now, if that would kind of be it. And then what would we do if we hired an additional officer? But what I'm hearing is it's anticipated to be more than a dozen years out. So.
That's why we took that wait and see approach, because we weren't sure how much money we were going to get, and it was varying from year to year. So we wanted to see, hey, how does year 1 look? Okay, now year 2. now year 3, okay, now we're coming up on year 4, and that's where we felt comfortable in speaking with finance. I feel like we're good, okay, the officer's gonna cost us this. Some of these expenses were just one-time fees for the vehicle. And then with the vehicle too, we want to do a special wrap for it to identify the CBAC clinician. So when it's driving throughout the neighborhoods, they can see, oh, that's the mental health clinician. They're en route to a call. Good.
Councilmember Ross?
I don't have a question, but heartfelt thank you. Thank you for what you do. We have easy jobs next
Thank
to
you.
what you do, and I really do. I'm sure I speak for everybody when I say thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, again, thank you to the police department, finance, and I know the city attorney was initially involved in this process. And I will even thank the council because initially there was some discussion about what to do with it. We looked at other cities, what they were doing, and neither here nor there whether they were effective, but they were using smaller amounts and over the years, so they probably haven't built up as much. And we wanted to make sure this was something that would actually make an impact, all of us. And so when I saw this, I thought, I just wanted to especially thank the police department, but everybody else involved too, that used some restraint and allowed this money to be built up in a way that it could be used something which, when I look at this, I think this is very meaningful to the community, very much a good use of these funds and something that will definitely make an impact, that's that the community will definitely appreciate. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I'll open it up to public comments. Or any public comments on this item?
I have none, Mayor.
Or anyone in the public that want to speak about this item? I've seen none. We'll return it back to the council for further questions, discussion, or a vote.
I move to approve the special revenue fund.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Lamb and a second by Councilmember Gordon. Please vote. And motion carries. All ayes.
All right, I want to check in with council because we've been going for more than an hour and a half. Does anybody need a break?
No, I don't.
Then we will continue on. We're getting to some of the fun part. So the next item on our legislative calendar, item 5D, is to approve the contract with CJ Wrench for the fabrication and installation of a sculpture titled Crimson Sentinel to be placed in the Esperanza Roundabout. City Manager, would you like to introduce the item?
Thank you, Mayor. So this item is for council to take action on a Public Arts Commission recommendation, as you mentioned, for the Esperanza Roundabout, and Ann Ambrose is here to lead the presentation. Ann.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm very excited to be here tonight presenting this item to you. This has been a long project that the Public Arts Commission has been working on with staff, and so we're really happy to be here tonight. So by way of background, with the completion of Esperanza Park, there was just sort of a little element that wasn't quite done yet, and that was the identification and selection of a public art piece for the roundabout entrance, or at the main entrance of the park. So back in March of last year, city staff and commissioners from both PAC and PACE conducted a bilingual meeting at the Agua Caliente School with members of the Dream Home community. Just as has been done before throughout the whole process of development of this park, we sought to get feedback from the community about what they'd like to see in this sculpture, what kind of imagery they would like to see. We sent coloring sheets to the schools. We had like 90-some kids that we received drawings, and there were also postcards sent to the homes soliciting input on the sculpture. So in May and in June, PAC deliberated this item and established a budget, which was presented to the City Council for approval on July 9th, 2025. In September of last year, we presented the call for artists. We do this call online through a system called Called for Entry, and it was a nationwide call, and we received 140 submissions to that. Following that, the Public Arts Commissioners individually had the opportunity to rank their selections of artists that they would like to move forward in the process. And they selected 3 artists to move forward, Charlotte Elizabeth, Eileen Gay, and CJ Wrench. Each of these artists has been awarded a $1,000 stipend for the development of a concept for the roundabout. And on March 10th of this year, finalists presented their proposals to the Public Arts Commission and staff from the city's engineering division on what their concepts were. Since that meeting, staff has sought input from the community on which sculpture was preferred via a variety of sources. We conducted an online survey, which received 532 responses, which we were extremely excited about. We brought out the information about the sculptures and images of the sculpture at our first Esperanza Rising event. We had 44 responses there. Commissioner Jimenez, who is a very active resident in the Dream Homes community, went door to door in the neighborhood to solicit additional responses from the neighborhood, and he received 26 responses. And then we sent voting sheets to Agua Caliente School, and the principal there is as awesome as always, and he got 385 responses from the students. So we were really excited for that. And so these were the results of the community input on what they liked. And so for the direct outreach that we had in the community for Esperanza, at the Esperanza Rising event in the neighborhood, their top pick was Crimson Sentinel. For the online survey, the top pick was Flower of Esperanza on the left. And for the students, their preferred one was Esperanza Rising, which is the one on the right. So this input was taken in full along with the proposals, input from our engineering department on the maintainability and the structural integrity of the pieces. And the Public Arts Commission met twice on May 12th and May 26th to review and make recommendations. And the recommendation made by the Public Arts Commission is for Crimson Sentinel by C.J. Wrench. And this is a larger image of the structure. It's a metal structure with the leaves of the ocotillo are sort of a poly type of material that does leave the beautiful kind of light display on the ground during the daytime. This project is funded through the Art and Public Place Fund, and the total allowable budget is not to exceed amount of $173,000. And that budget includes the $3,000 for the stipends for the three finalist artists, that $100,000 for the artist fees, which includes their costs, materials, construction, transportation, and any of their travel costs. Additionally, we have $50,000 set aside for the city costs, which would be our costs on the installation, electrical work, concrete work, any preparation of the site. And then we had established a contingency of $20,000. So the total project not to exceed amount is $173,000. And so staff's recommendation tonight is for the City Council to accept the Public Arts Commission's recommendation to select Crimson Sentinel by C.J. Wrench as the sculpture for installation at Esperanza Park, to approve a contract with C.J. Wrench for the fabrication and installation of the sculpture, and to authorize the city manager to execute any necessary documents. And that ends my presentation.
Thank you so much, Assistant City Manager Ambrose, for that presentation. And our thanks, of course, to the Public Arts Commission for all of their work in vetting. And I know with your guidance and help, they were able to accomplish this work. So thank you so much. All right, Council, any questions or comments? I see first in the queue is Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you. I was happy to see my favorite sculpture be the choice. I love the depth of the community engagement, particularly with the school. I think, the way that we grow and keep our residents is to engage them when they're small. And so engaging school children in something like this, I think, is really exciting and commendable. Well, the only question I had was there's currently a tree in the spot where the sculpture is now. What's going to happen to it?
It will be relocated to another location. It will not be, nothing bad will happen to the tree.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. And then the council member whose district it's in, Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Thank you for the presentation. Now, my question is, I see the height is going to be approximately between 15 to 20 feet. Do you know the exact height?
Not in front of me. I think it'll just vary between which branch it is, but there were specifications within the RFP of the maximum height, and this was within the limits of that.
I see that the actual, you can say, cacti is going to be probably about 10 feet in height. Now, the actual flowers is going to be an additional probably anywhere from 8 to probably about 1 to 8 feet. Now, my question is, or my concern is that is going to be made out of metal, correct?
Yes.
Now, do you know if these flowers or branches that are going to be sticking up to 20 feet, are they going to be able to withstand gust winds up to 75, 100 miles an hour?
They will, the artist is required to have engineered drawings for the sculpture, and Public Works Engineering will work with him to make sure that, that it meets all of those requirements. They are aware of the kind of environment that they're building in, and will have to produce proper drawings for engineering to approve to authorize the construction to go forward. I know while it's not quite as windy and not quite as hot as here, but I know Santa Clarita in LA County has a sculpture by CJ Wrench. It's actually a father-daughter team. That is the fabricating artist team. And they have a similar sculpture that seems to be withstanding the environment there. But that is top priority to make sure that it is installed properly and safely and will withstand and live up to our kind of brutal summers that we have here.
Yeah, that is my biggest concern. But besides that, every single sculpture that was presented, they were all beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. So whichever one was chosen, I wouldn't care. All of them are beautiful. So thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Next up is Councilmember Lamb.
And my question was, they have the address for the artist as Hood River, Oregon. So is the fabrication going to be down up there?
Yes.
Okay.
The artist himself, he and his daughter are the fabricators. So they will be doing all of the fabrication of the art piece along with the design.
And they bring it down then? Okay. Okay. Interesting. Thank you.
I will be in Hood River on July 10th. Maybe I can go a-visiting. Also, I love genealogy, I love names, and I have never heard the name Wrench with an R before. So I looked it up, and it just said I've misspelled it. It's supposed to be a W. It's like, no, this is the person's name. So it must be an unusual last name. I've never heard it, but I will be right there. I could just bop on over and take a look.
And it may be covered in here, but I didn't see it. Is there an expected timeline for installation?
We're working that through with them right now. We had sort of a proposed timeline, but because I got this to council later, we're going to have to modify that. But we will provide an update to council when we have a more finalized timeline for construction.
Are we hoping for this year, sometime this calendar year? Or
I'm not sure if it's going to quite make the end of this calendar year, but we're going to work our best to get it as quickly as possible.
Okay. Just trying to get an idea. But
yeah.
I know it has to be fabricated. It's custom. We want it to be right and nice. So.
Yeah. And the thing that's sort of out of his control a little bit is getting the engineering review of the drawings, and that he can control the fabrication and all of, material ordering in that schedule, but it's the external engineering review that he said he's had some challenges with getting as timely as would be preferred. So
right.
As soon as once we get through council tonight, if the council approves this, we will work with the artist to get a more concrete schedule.
And is there a payment schedule? I assume they won't be getting the whole thing up front, will we?
It's 10% up front.
Oh, I see it in here. I'm sorry.
It's in the staff report.
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry. Okay.
60, 10, 10.
Yeah, you're right. 10, 60, 20 at delivery, and 10 after everything's been signed off. So good. All right. Thank you so much. Council, anything else? Are there any public comments on this item? Any members of the public that wish to make comment on this art piece, custom art piece? Then I'll return it back to council. Mayor Pro Tem, it's in your district. Would you like to have the honor of proceeding?
Move to approve.
You have a second?
Second. I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez and a second by Councilmember Gordon. Please vote. And motion carries. All ayes.
Christine, I don't see my other presentation here.
Thank you so much. Well, I'll speak slowly until we get to. All right, the next item on our legislative
You
calendar
know what you say because you couldn't find it, you say, "Great Scott."
is item 5E to authorize the purchase of Great Scott, a sculpture by Karen and Tony Baroni for installation at Panorama Park near the dog park. Mr. City Manager, would you like to introduce the item?
Yes, so this is another fun item, and it is for the purchase of an art piece, also recommended by the Public Art Commission, and Ann Ambrose will be leading this presentation as well.
It's been a real great year, this past 2 years working with the Public Arts Commission. They've really been busy working to implement bringing art into the community, whether it be sculptures, as we're talking about tonight, the festival that we had recently, and the activities that were recently done with the Public Art, or with the Perez Art District. They've really been on a roll. And so tonight is another great opportunity to talk about another piece of sculpture that is being recommended to the City Council for approval. So back in January of this year, I was here before the council providing you an update on the activities of the Public Arts Commission. And during that meeting, I asked if any of the council had any particular ideas or activities that they wanted the commission to work on. And at that meeting, Mayor Gregory had requested that the commission work on a sculpture to be installed by the dog park at Panorama Park. So in February of, right after that meeting, I brought this item to the commission, and Chair Liebelt and Vice Travis were appointed as the subcommittee to help identify a sculpture. Back on May 12th, PAC reviewed and considered sculptures from two sets of artists, first being Karen and Tony Baroni, and the second being Kat Trevino. And so I think Karen and Tony Baroni are well-known by pretty much all of us in the room, very well-known pair of local artists, celebrated for their very vibrant, larger-than-life, and whimsical sculptures. And as you recall, back in March through April of last year, the Public Arts Commission hosted an exhibit of 15 of the sculptures of Karen and Tony Baroni here in Town Square. And it was really a delightful time to, every time I think anyone came to City Hall, you just couldn't help but smile at seeing their art around the square. The second artist that Pat considered pieces from was Kat Trevino. She's an LA-based artist who works in a variety of different mediums, including digital media, painting, sculpture, and public art. Kat was one of the 24 artists who painted a bench for our Ocotillo bench painting project. So the location that we're looking at for the sculpture is kind of within this area at Panorama, right outside the dog park, so right from near the main entrance into the park. So we will work with staff on the dimensions of the sculpture to find the best location, to have it on display, and to be able to light it up so that it has appropriate attention. And these are just the sculptures that the Public Arts Commission considered. So we have a variety of sculptures from the Baronis, some cats, some dogs, some ice cream. And then for Kat, these were two of the sculptures that were submitted by Kat for review. And then ultimately, the recommendation that came out of the Public Arts Commission was the selection of Great Scott, which is one of the Karen and Tony Baroni pieces. The Public Arts Commission is recommending it to the City Council for the installation at Panorama Park. And the request is also to authorize the purchase and installation in an amount not to exceed $38,380. So of that cost, $17,480 is the cost of the sculpture with tax. The delivery, which would also have a V in the name delivery, cost is $200. And then our estimates right now for installation, which would include the concrete pads, electrical, and lighting, we have an estimate of $18,000 with a small contingency. And so our not to exceed budget is anticipated at $38,380. This is also funded out of the Art and Public Places Fund and aligns with our goal of Goal B, community investment. Oops. And I'll just go back to the staff recommendation. And I'm here if there's any other questions.
Right. Thank you so much again for that presentation. I will just recognize you and the Public Arts Commission for following through on the requests. I did give a suggestion, maybe something with color would be nice. There are 2 other art pieces in Panorama Park. One's natural rust patina, and the other one's kind of a bronze. And being a park, that would be nice with color. And I suggested that, they could at least consider an animal would be okay, but I wanted to stay out of it and have them use their great judgment to make a choice. So I will just share, I think this is an excellent choice for being there near the entrance of the dog park. And I see Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez in the
Thank
queue.
you, Mayor. Well, Councilmember Ross's favorite color is green. We should just leave it green.
It is, for money.
It's not for bollards.
Let's get you straightened out there.
Now, do you have the measurements for the sculpture?
In my staff report, I do. So if I can,
So may I just ask council, does it look like there's like damage on it or little spots on it, or is it bird poo, or what is that? In different spots on the picture. Look up at the big picture on the wall. Do you see the little?
No, I think it's like
Is it a
variegated.
texture?
Yeah, it's variegated texture.
Oh,
and I think the light
I haven't seen it in person, so I
Yeah,
didn't
it's
know.
not smooth. It's got I haven't seen it in person either, but from the photographs, it looks like it's got a brushed in different directions texture.
But they're just little pieces, just
I
little
might
pieces.
see it, but I think it's the light catches it.
Maybe.
so Mayor Pro Tem, the sculpture is 6 feet tall, 36 inches wide, and 84 inches long.
Oh, it's big.
Now, the actual base, how is that going to be? Is that going to be a foot or so
Engineering
larger
will,
than the exterior? And the
engineering will
height?
be the determinant
Look at
of
him, he's gonna
what
do that.
kind of base is needed. We have Karen and Tony work with sort of a concrete installer, and we'll work with Public Works to ensure that it has the proper footings to, what we're looking at is just footings under each of the feet, not like a big concrete block,
I was
so that
wondering.
it's.
So not a
one-
slab necessarily, just could be like under the 4 feet.
Oh, okay. One of my concerns is that to make sure that if there's kids that are walking around and depending on the height, they can walk underneath one of the whiskers and actually injure themselves.
We can look into that.
That's why a base that is larger than the actual sculpture to prevent anybody from walking too close and injuring, either hitting themselves in the head or any other type of injury.
They might move around it.
Well, yeah, I think when engineering looks at it, they would just need to make sure it's not too sharp, that type of thing. I know some of these, I don't know if this one was out here, but there were other similar ones that had ears and things, and they weren't really that sharp. There was no concern out here, but.
We'll take a look at that.
Yeah, that's my only concern, that depending on the installation, it will prevent some sort of accident, someone walking underneath and hitting their head, depending on whether it's a kid or someone walking underneath their whiskers and really breaking their head wide open.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you. Just keep that in mind.
Thank you. And I think we can appreciate your concerns. Somebody can always bang their head on anything, a tree. So yes, but I do think we need to check, I agree with you, to make sure it's not too sharp. All right, anything else from council? Any public comments on this item? Colby, come on up. If you would give your name for the record.
My name is Colby Gregory. Thank you, Mayor Gregory and council. I just wanted to say, yeah, I think the best one won on that one. And I really like that it's keeping in line with invigorating the community and local artists as well. So I appreciate that direction. And that's it.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? All right. If not, then we'll return it back to council for discussion or further action on this one, if you don't mind. Since it's my district, I would like to move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mayor Gregory and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez. Please vote. And motion carries, all ayes.
Aye, aye, Captain.
All right, thank you so much. And I will say to Mayor Pro Tem, you have a friend named Jose that I speak to at the dog park. I think he has Scotty dogs. So,
Yeah, he does.
So
Yes, he does.
he will think that we approved this just for him, but you know.
Tell him we did.
All right, thank you.
You lie and he'll swear to it. We're elected officials, you know.
All right, the next item on the agenda, item 5F, is the adoption of a resolution approving a remote participation and technology disruption policy pursuant to and required by Senate Bill 707 and the Ralph M. Brown Act. Mr. City Manager would like to introduce the item.
Thank you, Mayor. So our city clerk, Christina Burton, is here to present this item. This is required under state law. We are required to adopt this policy, and we are required to implement it. And with that, Christina can fill us in on the details.
Thank you, City Manager. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, I'm pleased to present this very important item that will affect how we conduct our public meetings moving forward. So first, a little background. What is SB 707? So SB 707 was signed into law in 2025. It amends the Ralph M. Brown Act, which is California's open meeting law. It expands public participation and accessibility for public meetings effective July 1, 2026. It also requires the City Council to adopt a service disruption policy on or before that effective date. So the discussion, this evening we will review how the bill affects our City Council meetings, and we will discuss the remote public access and participation requirements. We will understand our roles and responsibilities and consider adopting a resolution to approve the policy. So now, some of the key changes we will see. There are a few new requirements. All meetings must require a way for the public to attend and participate remotely, meaning they must be able to make a public comment in real time. All notices and agendas must include instructions on how the public can attend and participate remotely. And the public must be able to make public comments in person as they would if they were remotely as they would if they were in person. Now, how we plan to comply. The City Clerk's office will provide a Zoom link, and this will be similar to what we've seen during COVID. It will be the same link that we will use continuously so that in case someone doesn't see the agenda, they can always go back to a previous one and use the same link. We have added an additional Deputy City Clerk station to my left. This station will be dedicated to holding the Zoom meeting and helping me do the public comments in person as well. We also have our IT staff who has implemented a standard operating procedures, which will help them to troubleshoot any issues we may have if there is a disruption. Now, let's discuss the policy. The proposed policy must be approved by July 1, as I mentioned. It will define service disruptions and address procedures for recessing and reconvening meetings. It will also, nope, that's that. Okay. Now, let's define what a service disruption is. We define it as a technical failure that would impair the public's ability to attend and participate in real time. Here is a list of technical failures that could be. But again, this could be anything that prohibits them from participating. It could be stagnant noise, it could be anything. So anything that doesn't allow them to participate and make comments.
Power outage maybe or something.
I'm sorry?
Power went out.
And that would be one, absolutely. Okay. So here's the important part. If a disruption occurs and prevents remote participation, we do want to note that this only applies to the Zoom. It would not apply to our broadcast because the broadcast is simply for viewing the meeting, not participating in the meeting. When there is a disruption, as defined, the meeting must immediately recess, and we must try to restore service for at least 1 hour. The meeting may reconvene as soon as service is restored or after the 1 hour period, whichever occurs first. So if we fix it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, we can reconvene. Okay? If we cannot restore service, we must wait the full hour. Then the City Council may reconvene after adopting findings that good faith efforts have been made to restore service and that the public's interest in continuing the business of the city outweighs the interest of remote participation. So that would be done by a roll call vote. Okay? Or you may adjourn the meeting. And either action will be part of the official meeting record. Okay. The proposed policy. This will describe the procedures for recess, restoration efforts, and reconvening. It assigns our responsibilities, and it documents the events and actions that we take. Okay. The proposed resolution finds that the adoption of the policy is required by SB 707. It approves the attached policy and authorizes staff to implement by the July 1 deadline, which will apply to our upcoming July 22nd meeting or any other meeting we may call before then. So the recommendation this evening is for the City Council to adopt a resolution approving the remote participation and service disruption policy. And I'll take any questions.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Council, I see Councilmember Gordon in the queue.
I know this has been something that's been on your mind for a while, and so I appreciate the care with which you've addressed this pending or impending change. The one question I have is, in the event of an interruption and that hour passing, should we choose to adjourn the meeting, what happens to the remaining agenda items? And is that something that should be documented in the policy?
So that's not documented in the policy, but that would be in the action we take that evening. So yes, we would put that in the motion, right? That we are adjourning the meeting due to these circumstances, and those items would be continued.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello. My question is, when speakers are in queue, are we going to be able to see the Zoom screen on either screen?
So we'll bring up the Zoom screen. However, we will not have video. It would only be audio. So you'll see the display board switch to Zoom. So we will see the speaker's name, because we may not know the speaker's name. We will call it by what we see on the screen. But yes, you will see them come up, audio only.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that's good clarification. So,
Is 707, does that also include bilingual?
So, Councilman Ross, it does. However, that's not part of the action this evening. This is specifically for the policy that's required for council action. There are other things that we will be implementing, and we can bring an update later to council if you'd like on all of those requirements that we are also fulfilling that do not require council's action.
Okay, thank you.
can you just clarify, is this going to apply to city council only or any of our other committees or commissions?
Yes, Mayor, we are required to implement it with city council only at this time.
All right. Thank you.
Council could, in your own discretion, decide to apply it to the planning commission or other commissions, but the law doesn't compel that.
All right, and for this resolution, it's city council only. That would be a future action if we say we see that it's working smoothly and want to expand it, realizing it's requiring additional staff at council meetings, so it would likely require those additional staff at other meetings until the robots take over, and then who knows what.
Yes, Mayor, and there is language included that we would be able to do that by resolution.
All right, thank you so much. All right, anything else from council? Are there any public comments on this item?
I did not receive any.
All right, is there anyone in the public that wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, I return it back to council for further discussion or a vote.
I move to approve the resolution as read.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Lamb and a second by Councilmember Gordon. Please vote. And motion carries, all ayes.
And we want to recognize the city clerk for her work on this item and for being able to give a presentation and then immediately go back and handle the vote.
Roller skates, you hadn't noticed, huh?
All right, the next item on our legislative calendar is item 5G, to ratify nominations by council members for commission committee seats and appoint individuals to serve a 3-year term set to expire June 30th, 2029. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So I don't know that this item needs much of an introduction from staff. This really is the work of council. Ordinarily, this would be placed on the consent agenda, although we elected to place this on the legislative calendar to enable council discussion on the appointments to committees and commissions. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor, for continued discussion.
So, and I appreciate that. These are nominations. The city council is the one that actually makes the appointments. And I know I looked at all of the applications, as probably my colleagues did. And of course, we thank those in our community that are willing to come forward and serve. And so for the majority of these, I don't have any questions from what I saw in the applications. And after the clerk verified, of course, that they're residents, those types of things, I think that it's pretty straightforward. There are a couple of exceptions, and there are 2 positions here that are to the Architectural Review Committee. And those 2 positions are special because there is in the city code that has been changed since I think a couple of us have been on council, that a preference that one of those be a licensed architect and one of those be a licensed landscape architect. I want to say agricultural, that's not right. Landscape architect. And I know Mayor Pro Tem and I were the lucky ones when these were divvied out, that he got assigned the position that looks for an architect, a licensed architect, and I have the one with the licensed landscape architect. So I know when these initially came, after just having discussions with the city clerk, there was nobody that articulated in their application that they had experience equivalent to being a licensed landscape architect. So we had already discussed that position was going to be re-advertised, specifically maybe with communications help, looking for somebody that's either a licensed landscape architect or as the I guess it's the ordinance requires or states, that they at least have some type of license, certificate, or degree, other education or training or work experience in the field. But the question I have is, there was a position here that was supposed to be the architect or equivalent, and I know when I looked at that application, and of course, not trying to disparage the applicant at all, but I didn't see evidence in there that they possessed certificates, education, training, work experience in the field of architecture. So I was wondering if Mayor Pro Tem or someone else, they're not here, that applicant is not here, could maybe share, was there more information that was revealed that is not in the application?
Well, Mayor, of course, we have had quite a bit of trouble getting volunteers or residents to apply that are actually licensed architects. And of course, nobody applied that was an actual licensed architect. And reading her application and her experience with the Agua Caliente tribe and the Planning Commission and other areas, I felt that she was actually qualified to fill that position.
So did you interview the applicant, or is it you just went off of the application?
I just went off the application because I already know her background and have talked to her in the past about her knowledge.
So do you know if she has any education or certifications in the field of architecture, or has worked in an architect's office, or any work experience as something that would make her the equivalent of an architect?
No, I do not have that information.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm looking at it, I would say, oh, this is certainly somebody with that experience would make a great member of the Landscape Architecture Committee as a member, as a general member of the committee. But we're supposed to be giving a preference to somebody that has at least some training, education, experience in architecture. So I don't, just because somebody's a member of a planning commission, that would mean any of our members of the planning commission, we would say are the equivalent of an architect because they've served on the planning commission. So to me, I don't see, without having more information, I don't see that meets the preference. And I know it's loosely drawn, it's really up to the council, but it is there for a reason, and we're supposed to make a finding, or we're supposed to at least feel comfortable that this person, meets those qualifications. So I would propose, not trying to disparage anybody, but since we're going to re-advertise the one for the landscape architect anyways, I would propose that we re-advertise both of these specialized positions, and that applicant can apply if they want, and specifically gear their application by talking about training, experience, certification, those types of things as an architect. Maybe they have taken some classes as an architect, or maybe they have done some draftsman work or something. I'm not trying to make assumptions. I was hoping maybe you interviewed that person, and I know we do everything transparently, so I hadn't spoken to you about this ahead of time, but that maybe they had something that wasn't in the application. And I think the application, was more for a general landscape or somebody for the architecture review committee. We didn't ask for somebody to specifically say that, but without it being in an application and without you having any, separate interview discussion with them, I would not be able to feel like we fulfilled the code if we just went ahead and made that appointment tonight.
Yes, Mayor, if we can, I'm okay with actually advertising for this position again and just having her also reapply and just giving us a little more information.
I think that would be great.
So you guys feel comfortable. I believe she's very well qualified, and if I find more information that will support what makes her a good candidate for this position, then I will make that decision. But as from the information that I do have from talking to her in the past and her experience with the tribe and what she's done, I feel comfortable with. But if you want to see a little bit more about her experience, I'm happy with it as well.
I think that would be best because we would meet our commitment to make sure we're appointing somebody into this particular position that has some type of special knowledge that would at least have some equivalency, not saying it has to be a licensed architect because we've made it looser than that, but some equivalently to be an architect. So thank you so much. So council, any other discussion or questions? No? Is there any public comment on this item?
I have none, Mayor.
All right, we'll turn it back. So I would make a motion that we approve all of the recommendations except for the positions that are for the Architecture Review Committee, for the architect preference position and the landscape architect preference position, and that we re-advertise those specifically asking for applicants to give us that information. And hopefully that can come back to us in our July 22nd meeting. All right, so that would be my motion.
I second.
Just a clarification, so you're asking to bring both of the people who made application to architectural review, is that correct?
No, just the architect one and the landscape architect one. I did not make a nomination for the landscape architect one, so you don't see it on there. It was already planned to bring that one back, but it's just clarifying that both of them would be re-advertised and come back. So the other appointment that was made, that was for a general position on the landscape architect committee, that would move forward, as well as all the other ones for all the rest of the committees.
And Mayor, and the reason why the other position for the Architect Review Commission is going forward is because that's a general nomination, correct?
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Gregory and a second by Councilmember Lamb. Please vote. And motion carries, all ayes.
All right, thank you, council. And again, thank you everyone that applied and even these other applicants. Thank everyone for understanding that we do have an obligation under the code to feel comfortable in particular in these couples that there is some special experience. And so we will move those forward. And congratulations to all of the rest of the ones that were approved tonight. We look forward to looking at your work and for your service to this community.
Very good.
All right. That is the end of our legislative calendar. We're almost done. We do have item 6, which is discussion on any future agenda items. Does anyone have a burning desire to add something to a future agenda? All right, seeing none, thank you all again for getting through this lengthy meeting tonight.
And Mayor, if we could,
Yes.
just before we adjourn, I do want to note that even though it says closed session at the very end of the agenda, we did not have a closed session anywhere on the agenda today. We didn't meet in closed session. This is just common to add it at the very end in case there was something.
I do appreciate that. Yeah, it doesn't say none, but there was none on the agenda. That's a good thing to note. All right, everyone, we will see you back on July 22nd, and of course, the work continues in between. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
You know, I was going to say.